Analysis of Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close by Safran Foer. Theme and Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close by Safran Foer. There are many issues, themes and underlying meanings in Safran Foer's novel, Extremely Loud and Incredibly Closed. The novel is told through the perspective of Oscar Schell, a remarkably perceptive, sensitive and intelligent 9-year-old boy. Additional insight is provided through the letters of Oscar's grandfather to his father and Oscar's grandmother's letters to him. The events of the novel are set in motion with the death of Oscar's father in the 9/11 terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center, where he was having a meeting. In my opinion, a central theme highlighted by Foer in the novel is trauma, particularly emotional trauma. In the analysis of the novel, it is possible to apply MacLeod's show and tell. In the book, MacLeod reflects about years past, in grade school, when showing and telling were concepts that were virtually interchangeable. This implies that, at that time, to putting a message across meant showing it and vice versa. This technique has been utilized in the novel, Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. Presenting the story from the point of view of Oscar, a 9-year-old, is an illustration of this fact. A central theme that runs through the novel is trauma. Practically every character in the book has experienced death and loss in one form or another and is dealing with the trauma, that resultant trauma, in the best way they know how. The narrator of the novel, Oscar, is traumatized by the death of his father. Oscar and his father shared a very close relationship characterized by a shared love for solving mysteries. Oscar considered his father his best friend, so he felt the loss particularly hard. Oscar's trauma is manifested by a measure of self-mutilation. He also becomes intensely secretive. Before Oscar's father died, he left a number of panicked phone messages. Oscar is the only person who heard these messages. He bought a new phone and replaced the old one to prevent his mother from noticing. Oscar holds fast to this secret, perhaps as a link to his father that only he shares. Moreover, the quest by Oscar to find the person named Black who has information about the key can be construed as an expression of him trying to deal with the trauma of his father's death. Oscar's mother is also traumatized by the death of her husband. She seems to have retreated into her own silent world, where she barely seems to notice anything at all. This, at least, is the impression that the narrator, Oscar, has. The fact that his mother does not notice things appears not to be entirely accurate, because she does notice the bruises that Oscar inflicts on himself. Trauma is also experienced by Oscar's grandfather. His grandfather expresses this trauma through his letters to Oscar's father. Oscar's grandfather reveals that he was in love with Anna, the elder sister of grandmother. Anna was killed during World War II when bombs were dropped on the house, killing everyone but Anna's grandmother. This loss is so traumatic to him that he is unable to love and unable to speak. This trauma is cited as the reason why Oscar's grandparents divorced. The novel also examines the experience of communal trauma. This trauma is exemplified by the World War II bombings of Dresden that resulted in the death of the entire family of Oscar's grandmother. The theme extends to the trauma experienced in the aftermath of the 9/11 terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center that resulted in the death of Oscar's father. The novel explores how various characters deal with the trauma in their own personal style. Representative example. In the novel, Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, death can be cited as a representative example. Closely associated to the experience of death is the concept of loss. The book is grounded on the experience of death, the effect that it has on the characters and how the characters cope with the situation. The most notable representative example is the September 9/11 terrorist attacks. These events that resulted in the death of thousands of people also resulted in the death of the father of the narrator. Death and loss are also highlighted when the narrator's grandfather loses the woman he loved and his unborn child. Oscar's grandmother, on the other hand, lost her entire family during the World War II bombings in Dresden. In Foer's novel, death was not limited to the major characters. In Oscar's quest to find the person who owns he meets several interesting characters. These characters also suffer death and loss. This loss is experienced by Mr. A.R. Black and Mr. William Black, both who lose close family members. A relationship between image and text. In examining the relationship between image and text in the novel Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, it would be useful to again apply MacLeod's show and tell. MacLeod examines the relationship that exists between text and image and determines that the distinction between text and images has been blurring over the years to the extent that the two have blurred into each other. This relationship between text and images in the novel is exemplified by the corrections made by the red pen during Oscar's grandfather description of the bombing in Dresden. This description is arguably one of the most significant texts in the book, and the image of the red pen serves to highlight it. In the novel, the author uses the imagery of intentionally adding blank pages. The author also included some passages in intentionally compressed texts. These techniques were utilized by the author as a visual imagery to the text of the novel. In the novel Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, Safran Foer establishes an interaction between text and images with the use of pictures and other extra-textual material. In the novel, Foer establishes a tenable link between texts and images and uses the techniques to create a powerfully moving story. These texts and images interact to prove that these two features can exist harmoniously together in works of literature. In my opinion, the novel Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close is a sublime masterpiece that seamlessly blends images and texts. In this essay, I attempted to highlight the relationship that exists between image and text in the novel. I also attempted to critically examine the theme of trauma in the novel and identify and describe a representative example in the novel. The experience of writing the essay was challenging but also enlightening. I was able to understand parts of the novel that, before now, had eluded my grasp. This essay on Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close analysis was written and submitted by user Jasper Q to help you with your own studies. You are free to use it for research and reference purposes in order to write your own paper. However, you must cite it accordingly.